Hello everybody, I'm Headset Glasses Man. So the first thing I want to say is I'm waiting for this to start to make sure that's making sound and whatnot. It's just best to check it in, end-to-end check. Sounds like it is. Yep, that's me talking. So it's working. I'm getting a lot of questions, not really, about what does illusions exist mean? And it's like this. Every morning, the sun rises. It travels from this horizon, which is way in that direction, over to this horizon, which is way in the other direction. From the east to the west. Haha. Thought I didn't know that, but I was just saying from whichever direction to whichever other direction, it moves across the sky. And that is an illusion. The What's really going on is you're on a globe. It's just a little speck on a globe. And you are swinging around into the light where you guys, my wonderful audience, is the light. And yeah, I don't. Anyway, um, you're swinging into the light, which was already there, and you're swinging into it, and that causes this relative angular movement of the sun, and it's actually you that is moving. It's not the sun rising; it's you setting, and yet something's going on. And that's the way it is with every illusion. Even though you're wrong thinking the sun is moving, something's going on. You just have the wrong end of the stick, but there's a stick there. And that's the way it is with all illusions. I mean, if you're in the forest, taking this walk in a midday summer day, and you see a unicorn in the forest, right? Yeah, you're hallucinating. It's an illusion. But something's happening. I mean, namely, the psychedelics are kicking in or something, or something's definitely happening. That phenomena, you might have the wrong end of the stick thinking it's a unicorn, but something is happening. And that's the meaning of illusions exist. Because the illusions that you have is exactly the most important ideas to you. You wish they didn't exist. So many people go, oh, that's an illusion. I saw a ghost, but that's an illusion. Therefore, it doesn't exist. Yeah, but the fact that you have hallucinations exists. You might want to, take that into account and whatnot. All right, so philosophy covered that. It's conscious contemplation of what? Of appearances, how things appear to be, because things just come and appear to be from the beginning, and then you start thinking about them. It's conscious contemplation, right? Because there is some sort of unconscious contemplation where we seem to mull over ideas without consciously thinking about them, and the way we get that impression is after a while we have experiences, and after a while things occur to us about them. Oh, you know what? That was kind of unfair. Or, oh, you know what? I was sort of an asshole. Different kind of people get different sorts of things, but everybody gets something from their experiences without consciously thinking about it. And, philosophies where, well, let's consciously think about it and we can keep track of what we're thinking and how it works and stuff. And so skeptical reflection, the word skepticism comes from the Greek word for pondering and reflection, mental reflection. And really, the way I'm putting it, trying to simplify it down into an atomic or near atomic simple molecule definition, is simply that appearances are not what they seem, right? things appear to be the case, and when you look into them, often something else is entirely the case. And the original idea of what appeared to be the case might have some amount of truth. It's like, oh yeah, well, if you look at it from this way, but it's not quite right. And skepticism is sort of the idea that that's how it is with all appearances. You could never get an appearance exactly right in the same sense that you would never get a map exactly right. You know, and in the positive sense of you can get a map pretty fucking good. You know, way more right than you need to find Milwaukee. Way more correct to find your cousin's house in Milwaukee. Correct enough to find an exact location within a centimeter and measure the tectonic movement over the course of a year. You can get it as correct as you need with whatever energy that you have available as a constraint, and yet you're never going to get it exactly right because it's a map. The map is not the territory. Our ideas are about things that are in the source of appearances, whatever the source of these appearances and things we see and hear and ideas we have, whatever the source of that is, the, and skepticism is this idea that it's always worthwhile. There's always a potential of learning more if you reflect on how things appear, for the simple reason that appearances are not exactly what they seem. So what I would add to that is that you could never get an idea of something that is more than what appears to be the case, right? You have to reduce. You know, you got all these vegetables and ingredients, and you have to put them in water and onto a boil and reduce them, boil some of the water off and condense them. You can't actually go beyond what appears. You need to take a subset of what appears. That's you need to filter out the stuff that appears that's mostly bullshit. Like, for example, let's say that it appears to you that spiders are really scary and terrible animals, and you can go beyond that feeling by, well, what does it mean to be actually terrible and actually scary, to be actually dangerous? Not that I feel scared of them because I look at one and it's like, oh my God, but how many people does it kill? You know, does it serve something that protects my safety and saves people from dying? And, you know, questions of material danger, and you're taking a subset, all the things you know about spiders, and you're saying, well, forget the scary feelings and when I got shocked because there was one in my shoe, and forget these things that are, uh, you know, just impressions. What are the numbers? You know, what really, you know, how can I actually pin some sort of danger on this creature? And when I can't, you know, you see beyond your simple bias by filtering out the kinds of stuff that has been found to mislead us and lead to false appearances that are just, you know, wrong, as opposed to slightly askew. And again, the skeptic is saying it's always going to be at least slightly askew, you know, right? You know, it's like the law of gravitation, we might have to modify it. That objects are circling each other and mass has something to do with it. You know, that's pretty established, right? Some element can be established, and skeptically you can still say, yeah, but the interpretation is going to have to take a left or right turn, which in science we know because of these, there is no one philosophical position that stands with all of what we know of the physical world. But physics itself is a skeptical discipline that makes extensive use of this filtering out, because physics limits itself to three measurable quantities: mass, distance, which is space, measuring space, and time. Physics is based and solely founded on the idea that you can measure those things, mass, space, and time. Things like energy that are measurable, you can measure the amount of energy. They're all in units that are combinations of mass, space, and time. Moving mass in space in a certain amount of time over a certain amount of distance, a certain amount of mass. That's what energy is. So really it's just mass, space, and time. And it's not that a physicist cornered at a cocktail party would say that's all there is to life as you experience it. But as a physical materialist, they're saying, well, ultimately it does, because the extra things that you experience like are just energy flowing through your neurons and can be put in terms of mass, space, and time. And that's what I believe. That's the kind of physical materialist that I am. I believe you can put everything in terms of mass, space, and time, which is not to say there's not fourth and fifth and sixth elements, but merely to say that through their interaction with mass, space, and time, you could characterize them and possibly ultimately find out, oh, the character was a little bit forced. There's a fourth and fifth and sixth or infinite number of things. That would be fine. But the basic concept is that, yeah, the interaction on a mass and space and time level, I believe something of that kind explains everything. How the brain is built, which explains your emotions and the rest of it. But you are still that brain, and the emotions are not just secondary. Mass and space and time are secondary. What's primary is how you feel and all the information you get, and the fact that, in a sense, it's 100% illusion. And the question that you can use, the angle to navigate that, is what kind of illusion? In what direction is the illusion? At what damage? Is this illusion a spider and actually beneficial and harmless? Or is this illusion a Nazi and actually dangerous? All right. So that was skepticism. And the next would be either materialism or relativism. I mean, I think, well, in my book, it's the next is materialism, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Hey, by the way, this over here, that's a person holding a lifetime supply of energy in the form of thorium. And they can hold this radioactive material in the palm of their hand without getting cancer there. So that's why that's up there. All right, dig my Feynman diagram as well. Skepticism is the idea that appearances are not as they seem. Everybody believes that, but not everybody characterizes themselves as a skeptic or says, oh, I should apply this concept to everything I think. So that's what a skeptic is like, yeah, well, you apply even to everything, to a murder that seems obvious. You would be skeptical. And our culture is sort of flushing down this gravity well in a gradient that goes in a skeptical direction just because reality has a skeptical bias to it, right? Because reality is saying, yeah, a map can't possibly be the territory. Whether there's a territory, the territory is a dream, or it's physical gears, or whatever the territory is. Vishnu's having a dream, and the territory that you're walking in is some god's dream. The map is still not the territory, no matter what the territory is. So it's a pretty well-founded idea, skepticism, and even dogmatists find themselves in as part of facing reality, making skeptical concessions that they don't think the universe is skeptical, but they have to admit they don't know yet, if only to themselves. Or not even admit it, but just be damaged by it. Just have a blow that dents their philosophy due to the fact that things are not as they appear, and the energy it takes to hold on to an appearance when it's clear that it's, not long for the world, as is basically the stage of our culture at this moment. All right, I had a little extra part. Let's see. Oh, there's two whole people watching. Well, that's more than would watch if I talked to my dog. Then it'd be only one person.